$655. The flexible budget says it should have been $801. So, hey, that's a good thing. We had less cost for delivery vehicles than we had anticipated.
Mhm.
All right. That's a good question because if you just get into the format and the numbers and you're not understanding it, so that's how you have to look at it. Well, we had actual pizzas made 1,240. Our flexible budget was based on that. But when we planned this time period, we thought we were only going to sell 1,200. We sold 40 more. That's a good thing, selling more of them. All right. Okay. I hope that helped you. Now we can get into chapter 10. Chapter 10 takes the spending variance from chapter 9. So, chapter 9, we came up with the spending variance. Okay. Now we're going to take the spending variance and break it down. We're going to break it down. We're going to break it down into two parts.
Can you move your paper over to the left a little?
To the left,
Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Nope, stop. Whoa, whoa! To the
can you
right.
see that or not?
To the right. To the right.
I thought you could see it.
All right.
Okay, there it is. Into two parts. What are those two parts? You got any inkling at all? No,
Spending.
it depends. We're going to find, you better write this down. We're going to find variances for direct materials, direct labor. Oh my gosh, this sounds familiar. Variable manufacturing overhead and fixed manufacturing overhead. So, what we've done is we took the manufacturing overhead MO and broke it down into two components. What kind of cost is direct material and direct labor costs? This is stuff we should already know. It should be rolling out of our mouth right now.
Manufacturing overhead.
Well, all of these, we have three costs for manufacturing costs, also known as what? Product cost, also known as what? Inventoriable cost. Oh yes, direct materials, direct labor, manufacturing overhead. But we sometimes break manufacturing overhead down into two parts, the variable and the fixed part. And that's what we're doing with these variances. So direct material has two variances that comprise of the spending variance. Oh, and take a look at this. See this? Oh, and this. This is the diagram method. Oh, I like the diagram method because it is like a picture. Or you could use the equation format. Some people like the equation format. That's okay if you're a math whiz. But I like the diagram because all the way to the left is actual results. You got that? Put this down. Put this down in your notes. You'll be ahead of the game. This is standard at standard. Standard times standard. This is actual amounts. In the middle, we have our actual times standard. Ooh, we got to define it. So direct material costs, the actual direct material costs right there. That's the actual. Well, we want to know the actual price of the material that we bought, the actual price per unit, times the standard price. Standard price. That will give us what's called the price variance. Oh, wow. Price variance. But I'm going to abbreviate variance. We're going to throw DM, direct material price variance, we're going to calculate. And then we're going to have direct material quantity variance. Quantity variance. That comprises of the spending variance for direct materials. spending variance. All right. So chapter 9, we figured out the spending variance, but chapter 10, we're going to break the spending variance down into for direct materials, it's called direct material price variance and direct material quantity variance. So this is going to be the standard price times, actually, this would be actual price times standard quantity. Standard price times the standard quantity. And this is the actual price times the actual quantity. You got it? Actual price times the actual quantity. So if it's costing us $1 per pound of materials and we're buying 10,000 pounds, then the total cost for direct material costs 10,000. The actual price of $1 and the standard quantity that should have been used in production was 9,000 pounds. Whoa. Actual price times the, oh, I made a mistake here. Made a mistake. Actual price. Wait, how's that work again? I got this middle one mixed up. I'm going to have to look at that chapter. So you just put a question mark. You could fill it in. You could fill it in. I'll be able to fill it in next time. But that's what you're looking for. We have to take I thought it was the actual price times.
Actual quantity times standard price.
Oh, is that what that is in the middle?
Yeah.
That sounds like that could be. But let's put a question mark for everybody out there. So then they read more carefully. Very good. So we still have time left. Good. Guess what? Our direct labor has 2 variances. You're looking at the actual direct labor cost, which would be the actual hours worked times the actual rate. And then we have the middle column, and that's probably the actual, that would probably be the actual rate. Now let me think. Actual rate times actual hours, comparing it to, we want the rate variance. It seems like it would be the standard rate. Yeah, that's right. The standard rate times the actual hours. So if we eliminated this question mark, Deshante, don't say it. Let's see if I can get it this time. So it's going to be the standard price times the actual quantity. Yes, because we're isolating the price difference. The difference, actual price times actual quantity, standard price times actual quantity. So we're isolating the price variance. And then here we have the standard price, but we multiply it by the actual quantity in this column is the standard quantity, and that will tell us the quantity variance. Very good, Deshante. Did you remember that? Or did you look in the chapter?
I had to look back. But
That's all right.
too.
It's all
This
right.
is
See,
one of my favorite
I
chapters.
had to look back even. Okay. So standard rate, what we should be paying the direct laborers times the actual hours they worked. But always the far left is actual cost, actual hours times the actual rate, and then the far right is going to be standard times standard. Standard rate times the standard hours allowed based on actual output. So that's important phrase. Standard quantity based on actual output. So if they produce 10,000 toys, what's the standard say? What's the amount of pounds we're supposed to be using for each toy? So that's how you get it. It's the standard quantity based on the actual output. Same thing with the how many hours they should have worked based on actual output. So this is called the rate variance. Could be favorable or unfavorable. And then efficiency variance. Efficiency variance. And the total would be our spending variance. Oh, we got 5 minutes. Good. Variable manufacturing overhead is going to be very similar to direct labor. We're going to have it's called rate variance and efficiency variance. They have the same names. And for variable manufacturing overhead, we're using our predetermined overhead rate for variable manufacturing overhead. So this is in the chapter 10, and then the appendix to chapter 10 looks at the fixed manufacturing overhead. This is the one that's different because it's fixed. I got to emphasize these are variable costs. That's what I was trying to get to. What's the direct materials, direct labor, those variable. Same with the variable manufacturing overhead. But the fixed manufacturing overhead's fixed. So this is the actual amount of your overhead. Here is your budgeted amount of overhead. So you're just going to subtract the two. You don't multiply anything. Students make mistakes all the time when they're trying to determine, and it's called budget variance. Budget variance. So you should just subtract the two to get the budget variance. And then this is called volume variance. The volume variance. And this is it for both. We're applying the overhead in the last column for both our variable manufacturing overhead and our fixed manufacturing overhead. So how do we apply it? We take the rate, standard rate, times the standard hours that should be allowed based on actual output. And then you get your spending variance. Okay, so there you go, the preview to chapter 10. And I want you, there's two methods, using the diagram or the picture method, and then the formula. Some people will like the formula method, but I like having the picture because, what's the picture? It's worth 1,000 words, they say. All right, so there you go. You got ahead of the game. So when you read, now you know they're going to be talking about all these different variances. You got to memorize the names of these variances: price variance, quantity variance. For direct materials, direct labor, we got rate variance and efficiency variance. For variable manufacturing overhead, we got the same names. They're calculated a little bit differently. And then fixed manufacturing overheads, the biggest difference. That's why they throw it into the appendix, because these three are similar. So keep that in mind, keep it straight, because there's going to be a big problem where you got to do all the variances for one problem. All right. With that, I'll give you the last 2 minutes of this class time. I'm giving you the freedom to do whatever you want. Just don't tell me what you did.
Don't we have class till 2:15?
Oh, I thought we were good until 2 o'clock. So then why don't you grab an example out of chapter 10, Vanessa, since we're ahead of the game? You keep asking for more knowledge. Other people are mad at you and going, gee whiz, why'd you have to remind them of that time? Why can't we get out of here early for once? Well, that would be a rare day in May, wouldn't it? It'd be rare in any month in my classes, wouldn't it? So let's go to the back of chapter 10. You kind of got the idea of what the chapter's all about. So let's open it up here. Oh, as I leaf through the chapters here with you, standard cost and variances. That's what this chapter is all about. And they're going to find our variances for all three manufacturing costs, direct materials, direct labor, and our manufacturing overhead. But the manufacturing overhead is going to be broken down into the variable and fixed. So they talk about setting direct standards. Do you want to set your standards so it's ideal, impossible for most people to achieve? Those are kind of defeating types of standards. People are going, gosh, there's no way I could do that. I could do that on my best day, but how many days can I do my best day in and day out? That's not realistic. So using standards and flexible budgets. Oh, here it is. This is the general model for standard cost variance analysis. Actual times actual, the actual quantity times the standard price, and then standard quantity allowed for actual output. Standard quantity for that actual output times the standard price. And then they list the different variances: material price variance versus and material quantity variance, labor rate variance, labor efficiency variance, variable overhead rate variance, and variable overhead efficiency variance. And then that adds up to spending variance, what we did in chapter 9. Oh, yes. And then they give the individual model. Oh, that lousy cameras. It's not helping me here. Here it is here for direct materials. See, direct materials, the actual quantity of input at the actual price. And so they bought 6,500 pounds at $3.80. That's the actual amount that they purchased. That's the actual price. So you got 24,700. The actual quantity stays the same, but the standard price, we're supposed to buy it at $4. So, hey, we bought it at 20 cents less than what we're supposed to. So you could just multiply 20 cents times 6,500, right? Mm-hmm. And when you find the difference here between the totals, we get 1,300 favorable. Why is it favorable? Because this is actually what we paid, and this is the standard price we were supposed to pay. We were supposed to pay $4. We only paid $3.80. So that's a favorable variance. Ah, I see now. Now here we have the standard price. We're going to figure, well, what would the standard price times standard quantity? And we're going to compare that number. Oh, look, this is lower. So if the number's lower than the one on the left, that's going to be unfavorable. So that's a $2,000 unfavorable material quantity variance. Our spending variance, we got a positive or a favorable price variance netted to a unfavorable quantity variance. We end up with $700 spending variance. So we calculate the spending variance in chapter 9. We drill down, break it apart. We see that, hey, we paid less than we were supposed to, but we used more. So was it worth it to buy it at the lower price? Maybe the grade, the quality of material wasn't as good. But if we bought the particular level of quality at $4, we wouldn't have this variance of 700. And then it goes into direct labor and does the same thing in the variable manufacturing overhead. Now let's see if we can find an example. Or Vanessa, did you find an example yet in the back of the chapter? Oh, one other thing, highlight this because this could happen, probably will happen on the exam. Note, when the quantity of material purchased does not equal the quantity used in production. Oh, you mean you can buy more than what you use up? Yes, they bought 7,000 pounds. So we're gonna look at the number of pounds used at our actual cost, and we're gonna take the pounds that we purchased at the standard cost. That's going to give us a price variance. That takes care of all the material that we had purchased. We know the total price variance is favorable by 1,400. But now here's the problem. In this particular case, they only used they used 2,000. Oh, they produced 2,000 units. So that's the final output. And they're supposed to use 3 pounds in every unit. So they should have used 6,000 pounds. So they didn't need 7,000 pounds of materials that they purchased. They just needed 6,000 pounds. Why? Because they needed to produce 2,000 units. And the standard quantity allowed was 3 pounds per unit. So we should have used the standard, should have been 6,000 pounds at the standard price of $4. This number's lower than this, so it's going to be unfavorable by 2,000, right? Oh, we can't compare it to this because this is all 7,000 pounds. We have to step down. So this is what we had purchased, but this is what we use. We actually use 6,500 pounds, but we should have only used 6,000 pounds. So that means we have an unfavorable quantity variance. We cannot show a total variance. Why can't we? Because we didn't use all 7,000 pounds. If we used all 7,000 pounds, then we could determine the total spending variance. But we got 1,000 pounds left over at the end of the period. And we don't know how much we'll use into production. I'm glad I was going through the chapter and saw that because that's important. That could show up on the exam, no problem. Oh, here's an exercise we can do. Let's go to exercise 10.6. 10.6. Direct materials and direct labor variances. Oh, maybe that one. Let's see. Oh, and then refer to 10.6. Now we have to determine. Oh, that was a good one. Yes. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, what are we going to do first? I gave you enough information. What are we going to do first?
Read the problem.
All right, go ahead and read the problems. I know what we're going to do first. We're going to find the variances for direct material, aren't we? So then tell us, Vanessa, what numbers are we going to need to determine our variances, which is what again? What's the names of direct material variances? Is that price variance and quantity variance? I believe so. I believe so. All right, so now tell us the information necessary for us to calculate.
Well,
The
direct
price variance.
materials.
Do you have to know the
Or-
standard and the actual? Do you have to know the actual and the standard amounts?
No,
You
it
should.
doesn't
You
look-
should have to know that, right?
Right.
What do they say they purchase?
Okay.
Do they tell us the amount they purchased of direct materials here?
They tell us
Boy, they
that
tell us something, don't they?
direct material, they give us standard quality or hour, standard price or rate, and standard cost.
Well, I want to know the
So-
actual cost, don't I? Isn't the
We
first column
want-
actual times actual? What do they tell us the actual amount we purchased?
It's not giving actual, hold on, 20,000
Not giving you
pounds material.
actual.
So it
Yeah.
was purchased at $2.35 per pound
All right.
for
Multiply
20,000.
by how
pounds.
many? Well, that's how we get actual times actual, isn't it?
Yep.
So what's that number going to be? What's that number going to be? Oh, you don't know the number? Did you buy it at $2.30 or did you say $2.35?
$2.35.
Oh, okay. Multiply by how many pounds?
47,000.
47,000. That wasn't hard to do. That's third grade math, multiplication. That's when I learned multiplication. Is that when you learned multiplication? Was it third grade?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
That's not hard, is it?
Nope.
All
That was the
right.
easy part.
Okay, then what's the middle column asking for? The standard quantity times the,
Actual.
no, it's the standard price times the actual quantity.
The standard price is.
Oh, that one can be confusing, isn't it? What was the,
$2.50.
And what's the actual quantity? Was that 20,000 pounds?
20,000.
So
Mhm.
multiply 250. We're supposed to buy it at a higher amount than what we paid. That's what it seems like. So standard time, no, actual times actual, actual times standard, standard times standard, actual quantity times actual price, actual quantity times standard price, standard quantity times standard price. So, oh, you got the 47,000. Did you get the 50,000?
Yep, I sure did.
So do we have favorable or unfavorable? Favorable or unfavorable? What's the name of the variance? What's the name of the variance? Comparing this to that, this to that, that to this to that. What's the name of the variance?
Is
Look at it. Look at it. Actual quantity times actual price. Actual quantity times standard price. What's different? What's different?
unfavorable. Unfavorable.
Why is it
The actual
unfavorable?
price.
Well, I can
Because the
tell you
actual.
right now.
Oh, no, it's favorable.
Oh, yes,
Because
you
it's
made a
less.
mistake. You made a mistake. You're a human being. Congratulations. We
Thank
paid
you.
235, but we're supposed to pay 250. That seems like a favorable variance to me. The
Yes.
number on the left is smaller than the number on the right. That's going to be favorable. Let's see if I'm right. Favorable. $3,000. Yes. But wait a second. What happens here? This number is smaller than that number. That would be unfavorable, wouldn't it? Is that 4,000? Yes, it is. It's called
Wait, where'd
material
they get
price
the
variance,
18?
quantity variance. So you gotta memorize the names of the variances already. I could see you're having difficulties remembering them.
Hold on. How did they get the 18,400 pounds?
Oh, we mentioned it before. What was the output? Tell me the actual output. I want to know what the problem says for the actual output. Tell me, please. How many units did they produce? How many units did they produce? Do they tell us in the problem?
So they produced 4.6.
4.6. What's 4.6?
4.6 pounds.
4 points. They produce 4.6 pounds, or did they use 4.6 pounds for every unit produced?
Oh, that's hours.
I
Hold
want
on.
to. Oh, that's hours now. Now we're talking
Oh,
hours.
so the cost.
How many pounds were
Okay,
we supposed to use? How many pounds were we supposed to use in each unit produced? How many pounds? How many pounds? You got to find it in the material. It's there. It's there.
250.
250, 250 pounds?
Yeah, for standard rate.
No, you're not listening. How
Per
many
pound.
pounds are we supposed to use for each unit produced? How many?
4,000.
How much?
4,000.
4,000. How many?
Oh, that's a B.
What's it say?
In B, it says all of the material purchased was used to produce 4,000 units of
4,000
Zoom.
units. But what's it
Okay.
say the standard is? How much is supposed to be put in each unit that in the standard? Does it say how many pounds we're supposed to use for each unit produced?
4.6
pounds.
4.6 pounds. But she was saying it was 4.6 hours. Was she not
Well,
reading?
it says standard quantity or hours.
Oh, so let's read
So
it carefully. Read
it
it
says-
carefully. What's the textbook state?
So
Read it.
it's just dividing the difference
quantity is
between
for the
direct
direct
materials
materials,
and
and
direct
then
labor.
hours is for direct labor.
Say that again, Deshante, because I think she doesn't grasp it. Go ahead, say it again.
So the quantity is for the direct labor or direct material, and then the hours are for direct labor.
Now do you understand, Vanessa?
I do.
It says right there, pounds. 4.6 pounds is the standard. Is the standard. Yes. And we're producing a product called Zoom. Ah, it's a cleaning compound. We're supposed to use 4.6
4,000.
pounds. And how many units did we produce of the Zooms? 4,000. Well,
Okay.
how many pounds should we use if we're supposed to use 4.6 pound for every unit produced, and they produce 4,000 of those?
18,400.
Oh, so you multiply the
You have to
standard
calculate to
pounds,
figure it out.
the standard pounds times the number of units. So that's what they mean right here. Right here, we better read this and understand it, because this is what students don't grasp. what's the standard quantity allowed for the actual output? The actual output was 4,000 units of Zoom. They're supposed to use what again? How many pounds of materials for each unit?
4.6.
So you have to multiply 4.6. So you did
Times
have to use the
4,000.
standard cost card to determine how many pounds they should have used in those 4,000 units. So does that give us how much altogether in pounds? 18,400, Vanessa?
Yes.
So when you plugged it into your calculator, 4.6
times
pounds
4,000.
times 4,000 units of Zoom that was produced. That was the output. They produced 4,000 bottles of Zoom, which contains 4.6 pounds of our direct materials. So now you know how you got that. That is a common question and a common problem that I see on the exam. So for Vanessa, it will not be a problem for her
Nope.
because we made sure she understands it. So do you understand this $2.35? Can you
Yes.
see that?
Because that's
That's
given.
the actual. That's the actual. Did they tell us that? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Purchased at a cost of $2.35. Did they tell us what the standard cost should be paid to buy the material? They did in their standard cost card, $2.50 per pound. We paid $2.35. Well, that's a 15-cent savings on each pound that we bought. So I could just take the difference, $2.35 to $2.50. That's 15 cents and multiply it by 20,000 pounds. That would give me 3,000 favorable. How do I know it's favorable? Because the budget or the standard is nothing but the budget on a per unit basis. We're supposed to be paying $2.50 per pound. We paid $2.35. It's less, so it's favorable, but it's called material price variance. Material quantity variance. It's unfavorable. We used more than we're supposed to. We used up how many pounds? 20,000 pounds. We used all of what we bought. But the standard says we're only supposed to use 4.6 pounds in each unit. We produced how many units? 4,000. So that's
Right.
18,400 pounds we're supposed to use. We used 20,000. We're using way too much. $4,000 too much quantity. So when we net this together, we have a net unfavorable variance of 1,000 spending variance. But by breaking it down, we really see where our problem is. We're using way too much. Now the question is, why are we using way too much? Well, maybe it's because the ingredients in this lower quality material requires us to use more of it. So we might have saved money buying it at a lower price, but we had to use much more than what the standard says we should have used. So we ended up with a net $1,000 unfavorable. If we paid the $2.50 and got the better grade materials, maybe we would have met the quantity variance. So do you see? You're
Yeah.
drilling down into the spending variance, breaking it down into its two components. Was our variance due to price? No, it wasn't. Was it due to our quantity? Yes, we used way too much. We got to find out why. Is the material that we bought at less money, lower quality, requiring us to use more pounds than the standard? Well, if that's the case, who is the person in charge of purchasing it? Why'd you buy it? Did you get a kickback for getting the 235, the lower quality material? Ah, Or do we have to go talk to the production manager? Why'd the workers use way too much pounds of materials? We're only supposed to use 18,400, you use 20,000 pounds, 1,600 more pounds of the materials. So is it the purchasing agent that you got to talk to, or you got to talk to the production manager? Maybe they're both at fault. The production manager can say, oh, the purchasing agent gave us the wrong materials, got the cheap stuff. And we always use more of it in production to produce. Okay. Now, is this helpful or not?
Yes.
Because if it's not, we can quit right now. Or what time we're supposed to go to?
We're 2:15.
Oh,
we're
we're
5 over.
over. So you tricked me into, cutting it because we got the job done, and now you make me work longer. And it didn't cost you guys any more money. You're getting extra education for free.
Well, I figure we'll probably need to spend more time on this chapter, so it'll be good for us.
Well, it is the tougher of the two. I tried to get this class to agree that chapter 9 was easy, but no, they're whining that it's somewhere between the easiest and the hardest. Well, now you got something to be complaining about. Chapter 10. We'll see how you do now. Now it's
I like
up
the
to you.
calculations. I
Now
just
it's
gotta figure out where they come from.
So next
Perfect.
time we'll do at least another example. Okay. I had a good time.
Good.
I hope you did. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. It's warming up.
You too.
I will.
It'll be nice.
Okay. Bye now.
Have a good one, Ed.
I will, Tyler. Thanks.